Kupina kuphi emakhaya amadolobheni naseTkomplasta khona lapho kubukela khona SABC 1. Welcome to this week's edition of Yilungelo, Lakho, It's Your Right. Well, it's been a very dramatic week characterized by chaotic looting that left so many consumers battling to get the basic necessities and services in the affected areas of our country. And today on the show, we take a look at how consumers are impacted by the ransacking of businesses and the deadly violence that accompanied it. Singagcisi isikhathi asisingene shika endzabeni yethu namhla. Mopping up operations are underway in the areas affected by the recent destructive looting of businesses in mainland KZN and Gauteng. Images of rampaging looters carrying food, electronic goods and all sorts of items dominated local and international headlines. So a Soweto businessman who ran a supermarket and a liquor store is one of those whose livelihoods was completely wiped out during the chaos.
Indlela lesikuhlobe ngayo ungaphika ukuthi kuleli viki leliphelile belungafakwa lapha. Bathengi bebavuke umbhejazana batitapela etitolo. Lona ngumama Joy Chawuke, umnikati wemaJoy Security Events and Projects.
It was like a nightmare. Ingathi iphupho ngiyaphupha ukuthi this is happening. Abantu bazoluta bayenza yonke lento bayenzayo. Inhliziyo yami ubhlungu kakhulu. It's like for me ukuphela ko business lami ngoba as a security company angisenawo umsebenzi manje. Umsebenzi uphelile.
Make Chawuke bekaqashe bonogadza labangi 24.
Ngoba sekuluthiwe kusho ukuthi ama security lawo bengiwaqhashile kuma Joy awesenawo umsebenzi.
Babetshepo Motikwane waseSoweto naye ukhala leti-smartphone singekulahlekelwa kwakhe.
We've always had a problem ngama break-in, especially like a liquor store, because every time lockdown comes through, they break in. This was the worst. This was the worst because now everything that we've worked hard for, whatever they couldn't take, they broke. Equipment, they broke.
Noma anesifiso sekuphinza avule ibhizinisi lakhe babeMatikwane uthi akade ukuthi kutawuthatha isikhathi lesingakanani.
We have insurance, but the problem is we don't know how long it's going to take. Obviously, we have loans and whatnot. We still have to renegotiate the loans and see what we can do to rebuild. I mean, this is a whole life's work, but we don't know. There's no clear indication. It could take a year, it could take 2 years.
Kuleli viki leliphelile indvuna yetekuphepha babebheka icele umemetele Operation Khokhi Receipt. Emaphoyisa amatasatasa angena ayaphuma etindlini akoleka impahla letapwe etitolo kuleli viki leliphelile. Bathengi bayexwayiswa ukuthi kulicala kutholakala unetimpahla letetshiwe. Bangadithengi kunaloko ababikele emaphoyisa uma banemkhondvo wetimpahla letetshiwe. Ungabika timpahla letetshiwe ku 08600 10111. Ungasebenzisa futhi neMy SAPS app. Zinhle Dlamini Mugabe, Yilungelo Lakho.
Manje khuluma kabanti-ke ngesimo ngesekuhlasela kwamabhizinisi kulamalanga landlulile nekuthi ke lokho kusithinta kanjani thina sibathengi asesimukele tivakathi Steph namhla-ke bakhuluma nasi-ke ku-Skype sinama close setati lobuya-ke e-Consumer Goods Council of South Africa siphinde sibe na-Sajet Mthokozisi Ngobese lokhulumela ngemaphoyisa siphinde sibe naNkuli Bohopa lomele i-Black Business Council sanimukela ehlelweni nonke sanibonani.
Sawubona Mthoko.
Hi, Matlo, I'm going to start with you. Please do tell us the extent of which this looting has had on business and as well as, individuals in general.
Thank you so much for having us here and good afternoon to the viewers at home. Indeed, the biggest impact was not only on the damage and destruction, as we hear from the other business owners. The disruption that has happened has led to a number of people feeling a little bit out of space in terms of being food secure. We've got communities that their supply chain in terms of supermarkets has been banned. So as you can imagine, those communities do not have food access at the current moment. So in terms of everything that has been done, it has got ripple effect in terms of affecting the community at large. So the businesses are still calculating their losses, but we do anticipate that is going to get into the billions of rands.
Now, Nkuli, paint us a picture of the extent of which the riots have had on business.
Siyabonga kakhulu ukuthi invite lana Black Business Council. So just to give you a sense, we've had at least 200 shopping centers lootiwe over the past week. Out of those, at least 100 of them have experienced extensive damages, including fire damage. I'm a post office lapho abantu bathola khona ama-grants, at least 300 of them that have been damaged, including banks. So ama-social grants azobanzima ukuwathola in those outlets. Engakusho futhi ukuthi ama-factory now have been affected. So we've got a number of factories and at least 11 warehouses. And I'm sure Sisi was a Consumer Goods Council can also attest to the fact that ama retailers, amaningi, just nearly 1,000 retailers, retail outlets that have been affected. I can tell you ukuthi nama pharmacy now have had big problems, and therefore this is a problem njengoba siphakathi kwe-pandemic. 150,000 jobs are at risk njengoba sikhuluma kanjena, with 50,000 informal traders aba-affectekile. Siyawaresheka kakhulu ngabo because we don't know the extent of insurance cover that they would have. The impact in KZN alone is no less than 20 billion rands, and cross-board, the impact is up to 50 billion rands as at the calculations zanamhlanje.
Now, Nkuli, lo mbhikisho nale nqushunqushu beyikhona nje kulamalanga landlulile, ingabe kusho ukuthini noma ke amabhizinisi lamancane iwathinta kanjani kulabo ke labathembele kakhulu kulama industries lo washilo?
Ngiyacabanga ukuthi bathinta kakhulu because if uyi-informal trader, njengoba sengishilo ukuthi at least 50,000 informal traders have been affected. Damages the infrastructure yethu on the roads and the logistics disruption, ekusho ukuthi ama-goods awakwazi ukumova from one hub to the next. So the supply value chain for amabhizinisi wethu amancane, if you are owning a cell phone store or whatever it is oyithengisayo, from a stock perspective ulahlekelwe. From access to your stock perspective, there's going to be delays. In terms of being able to recover, we don't know how many of these businesses actually abane insurance abazokwazi ukuthi ba-recover kulesikhathi esikuzo. If we talk about amabhizinisi that are small businesses inside ama-mall, it means you have to wait for the mall to be rebuilt in order for your business to be up and running again. And with every day that passes, you are missing out on potential business that could have been made and income.
Yeah. Matlo, asasikhulume ke ngekuhamba kwale timpahla ikakhulukati ekudla or the transportation of goods. Ngoba ke sibonile ke ama-truck lamanengi lalahambisa timpahla nekudla nawo konke lokudzingeka kwema-basic necessities nawo ashiswa. Ukuthi ke lokho ke i-supply chain yona ke kuyithinta kanjani?
Well, that has been a huge impact because, as you can imagine, ukuphila kwabantu is first and foremost the biggest priority for the sector. Because without human capital, who's going to be driving all the trucks and doing the shelf packing and so forth? So that we had to put measures in place to ensure that the drivers are safe. So that in turn then affects the logistics. So we can't send out trucks in that regard. And in terms of the stores, they had to change their time frames in terms of operating. Some we have seen that as soon as 3 p.m. they would close down. So as you can imagine, with the number of people that are moving from their original areas to go to the other areas to get supplies, that would impact in terms of them accessing the stores, because the time is also impacted. And what we have seen again is that with the movement, as Nkuli has said, some supply might still be sitting at the borders if it hasn't been burned down. So that supply, the cross interchange across the provinces was hugely impacted, where you'd find that some shelves were not necessarily filled up to capacity in terms of that. So that has, in any way, any disruption, that's why we call it a value chain, because it is a chain. If you touch one part of the chain, it disrupts the whole chain. So that has happened in terms of on things on the ground.
In fact, we interviewed a couple of days ago a farmer in Limpopo who was sitting with stock of oranges. Well, he's a citrus farmer. That stock is worth millions because he couldn't transport it to the ports and the harbors for export to European markets because, there were no trucks available. And that stock face being rotten. So that, in a way, will affect the chain, as you've mentioned. And we've also seen some consumers from different areas moving, who've been affected, moving to the other areas, for instance, from the townships, moving to the cities or the urban areas to buy basic goods like bread and milk. So generally, lokho ke kwathinta kanjani ama-consumers?
Well, in my view, that's what we always call it, a food system. Yes. In a sense of each and every area needs to be self-sustainable in terms of the food supply. But in the true sense of it, we are sharing, as you are mentioning, the export market is awaiting our product, our good product that we have in South Africa. So our actions will determine exactly how the supply chain operates, unfortunately. And we've seen companies come through and donating the food supply that they could have sold. And as you can imagine, the cost and the implications in terms of their loss, that they could have sold that into the export market, but they couldn't. So, but they know what to do as the sector. They always make sure that whatever avenues that they can utilize to ensure that they either get some value out of that, they would do that. And we are on the ground in terms of facilitating all of those processes to ensure that they get the necessary support and avenues to get their products redirected.
Okay. And one sector which has been adversely affected, well, not necessarily adversely affected, but they've had their hands full in terms of containing the situation, in terms of bringing law and order and normalcy in all our communities. Ngemapoyisa, the security forces and the armed forces as well. And we joined on the line by Mthokozi Ngobesa. He's the spokesperson of the South African Police Services. Usikhulumele ke semapoyisa. Baba Ngobesa, sakumule hleleni sawubona.
Sabulisa kwena msakazi nababukeli emakhaya.
Sichazela abantu ke Baba Ngobesa ukuthi ingabe the recovery process of lama goods la tshontshiwe ukuthi ihamba kanjani yona?
Msakazi nabalaleli si phansi phezulu namaphoyisa onke kanjalo namasosha sibambisene singena imizi nemizi sibheka. Into esibhekayo nje kuqala siya observe ukuthi abantu impahla banayo ngabe eyabo ngempela yini. Uma sesi-establishile ukuthi no akuyona eyabo impahla ngoba kukho abakutshengisayo mhlawumbe ukuthi ngabe yabo impahla siye uma sisola ukuthi akuyona eyabo siye bese siyithatha leyo mpahla sise emaphoyiseni bese silindele ukuthi ke kufike abanikaziyo bazoyikhomba njengempahla yabo. But ke kune process esiyenzayo akulula nje ngoba sinje kohlukubeza abantu umsakazi nabalaleli. Uma sesitholile ukuthi akuyona yakhe impahla siyabuza ukuthi ngabe impahla uyithathephi ngoba kokunye uthola ukuthi impahla endala sebeyibeka eminyango sekukhona impahla entsha endlini, then we become suspicious immediately masukuthi why in this household kunempahla endala eminyango all of a sudden then sekunempahla entsha endlini, then uma ehluleka ukusiculisa then seyithatha leyo mpahla. But asibanika abanikaziyo bengaprovanga nabo ukuthi yapi impahla fanele babe nama-receipt fanele babe nama-licenses ey'tolo ukuthi ngempela iy'tolo ezabo nokuthi leyo mpahla eyabo ngoba impahla eningi iba nama-serial numbers so it's easy ukuthi basitshengise kuma-records abo ukuthi impahla eyabo but asijahi ukuyidlulisa singagculisekile ukuthi eyabo ngempela.
Asasibuyele emuva-ke kancane-ke ngobese-ke kulesisusa sale ndzaba siyathi-ke ukuthi-ke emalunga emphakathi akanithanzisisi kulamalanga. You are not the most favorite of sectors here in South Africa ngoba-ke abantu abaningi bathi balahlekelwe lithemba-ke emaphoyiseni ukuthi le nto lena iphunyuka njani emaphoyisa akhona. A case in point lapha eJabulani Mall, ligede laseJabulani Mall libhekene ngqo nemaphoyisa, kepha-ke iJabulani Mall was one of the hardest affected malls lapha eSouth Africa. Kuthi konakele kuphi madoda?
Ya, uqinisile siyawuzwa loyo moya kodwa ke into ebalulekile ngokomthetho umthethosisekelo wase-South Africa impilo yomuntu iyona ebaluleke kakhulu kunempahla yabantu so sibheka kuqala impahla yabantu even impilo yalo ogangayo nayo ibalulekile ngoba phela i-protected by constitution yase-South Africa so kokunye ke sisebenzisa i-discretion ukuthi kuphi okungaba ngcono kwisimo esibhekene naso. Uyacabanga nje ukuthi kube sike samane saxhamazela sadubula sabopha senza ngabe emkhulu umonakalo kodwa buka manje ngokuthi asixhamazelanga slowly but surely we are able ukuthi sithole impahla ibuye kancane kancane ngaphandle ukuthi kube khona umonakalo omkhulu owenzakala emphakathini. The worst could have happened if we were haphazard in our approach.
The worst could have happened. Kepha-ke wena ngekubuka kwakho bekumele ngabe emaphoyisa ayihandlisha kanjani le situation ngaphandle kwekudubula?
Le ndlela esihendlishe ngayo I think iyona ndlela encomekayo ukuthi singatatazeli sisebenzise ilokhuza i-public order police ngoba ibona aba-trained in dealing with i-crowd control bese sibalekelela obviously but indlela esisebenzisile so far sibona ngathi iyona ebengcono ngoba isimo ngendlela ebesiyiyona
ukuba ukhuluma nge-public order police ukhuluma nge-visibility kepha nje there was no visibility amaphoyisa besingawaboni.
No, basically visible. It's just that ama-incident were all over.
Okay.
Besithi makuthiwa kukhala ucingo kuthiwa sebengala so beku all over so bekuyisimo esingajwayelekile neze esibhekane naso ngekho umuntu obesilindele ngoba besenzeka bekuthiwa kule mall sisathi siya kule mall kuthiwa kule mall kuthiwa kule shopping center kuthiwa kuleli lokishi kuthiwa kulapha ku-industrial area so we were overstretched and bekufanele sibe sey'ndaweni ey'ningi ngesikhathi esisodwa so kube yisimo esingajwayele ukuthi senzeke lesi besibhekene naso samaphoyisa nama-law enforcement agencies onkana umsakazi.
Okay baba Ngobesa asishiye lapho, please stay on the line, sitawuchubeka nenkulumo yethu emva kwalekhefu. Mbukeli asisithi-ke shelele sibambe ngasetolo sitawuphinde sibuye konyana. Awusiphinde sibanukele abantu abakethu-ke namhla ehleleni lethu Yilungelo Lakho, it's your right. Namhla-ke sikhuluma-ke nge-looting noma-ke the destruction of property and the vandalism. Umbhikisho-ke lobo ukhona-ke ikakhulukati eGauteng kanye-ke naseNatal lapho-ke sibona titolo tishiswa abantu bangena nje batitapela kuba ngithela wayeka bashisa netimoto bashisa nema-truck and how that has affected the value chain of the of the operational systems here in South Africa. Namhla-ke sina Matlose Setati ubuya-ke e-Consumer Goods Council of South Africa utasichazela abantu-ke ukuthi ngabe ema-consumers noma-ke bathengi bathinzeke kanjani-ke kule nqushunqusho beyikhona. Siphinde sibe na-Sergeant Mthokozisi Ngobese yena-ke usikhulumele samaphoyisa lapha eSouth Africa usichazela kabanti nge-recovery process ukuthi-ke leti mpahla nalokudla bekubiwe batakuthola kanjani bakubuyisele emuva kulawo mabhizinisi kunamabhizinisi lawo-ke bekathinzekile. Nankuli Bohopa yena-ke ungu-vice president noma-ke usekela lamongameli we-Black Business Council utasichazela kabanti ukuthi ingabe amabhizinisi ekakhulukati amabhizinisi lamancane athinzeke kanjani-ke linqushunqusho. Kepha-ke singakangeni lapho asesibuke-ke ukuthi-ke ingabe nine-ke nibathengi nithini lapha-ke etitaladini.
Umuntu omdala angena amosha tomorrow akunasinkwa for endlini then ama medication now futhi siyakhuluma ngawo ngoba kugcwele abogogo around the area.
I'm not sure how am I going to pay rent this month because of whatever that they did tampered with everything that we know, and without the shop, basically we have nothing.
Ndibuhlungu sikuzoyimi bengenza yonke into endlini ngithenga ukudla ngenza wonke into kumama akunamuntu osebenza yimi ngisebenza
I-skills development njengoba i-Pick n Pay iza kanje ithatha abantwana abancane ukuthi bazosebenza especially youth uyabona so izinto ezinje ziyaaffecta kakhulu ngoba sifuna abantwana baphumile emgaqweni benze izinto ezibalulekile.
Hayi imivo ke yabantu ke labasetitaladeni ukuthi ke ibathinze kanjani lenzaba yi-looting nembhikisho ke bawukhona lapha ke eSkhwahlande. Sicubeke nenzaba yethu ke let's welcome Nkuli Bohopa from the Black Business Council. Nkuli ingabe lokho lo lesilele sikubonile ke kulamalanga laphelile ukuthi kutati thinza kanjani ke tindleko tekuchuba ke ibhizinisi ikakhulu kati the small businesses.
Kuzo presenta ubunzima obukhulu njengoba ngishilo nje in the beginning ukuthi i-insurance kuzoba into enkulu ukuthi ekubeni sibone i-COVID isishaye kakhulu especially on the small business side. 2020 kuyothi ibhizinisi imeli sokola usually the first thing they get rid of yoni insurance so imali yokuthi umuntu akwazi ukurecovera ibhizinisi lakhe kuzoba yinkinga and then of course indaba ye-employment nayo iya affecteka kakhulu ngoba every small business sirelya kuyona as we know umnotho wethu uphansi kakhulu ne-unemployment yethu iphezulu kakhulu so we rely on these small businesses ukuthi bakwazi uku-employ whether it's 3 people 5 people 15 people 25 people ekusho ukuthi ibhizinisi imeli wile bonke labo bantu abasakwazi ukuba nendawo yokusebenza for the next few weeks or months in terms of waiting for i-recovery and amanye amabhizinisi even big business we are talking about a recovery period that might take up to 2 years ukuthi kwakhiwe i-shopping center entsha so imagine ke mengabe kuyibusiness elincane some of those businesses we may not even see being able to recover and come back into the mainstream economy so isimo esingajabulisi sithemba ukuthi mhlambe from a government's point of view kuzoba khona ne-relief package engase iphume ekufana mhlambe nangendlela abayenza ngayo ngesikhathi se-COVID where they can be able to assist amabhizinisi amancane nge-relief fund and sithemba ukuthi ne-staff sabo bazokwazi ukuthi babakhaverishe ngabo-UIF no-TERS ama-packages afana nalawo so sisalindile ukubona ukuthi kuzowenzakalani from the side of government.
Nkuli ukhulumeke nge-insurance yade ukuthi amabhizinisi lamaningi kakhulu kade amabhizinisi lamancane bekede ke insurance ke kulawo ke labanabo siyade ukuthi there's different packages of insurance lamanye ama-package ay-insurance awakhavi noma ke awakhavi ema violent protest noma ke imibhikisho ukuthi ke kulabo ke labede insurance manje sebathwele imkhono enhloko nyalo ukuthi batawubhekaphi.
Yeah, so i-insurance ekuyiyona ekhaverisha izinto esizibone njengoba kade kwenzakala last week yes-SASRIA. So I would encourage wonke ama-small business owners ukuthi babe in touch nama-insurance brokers wabo bacheke ama-insurance policies wabo bacheke nalabo ekuwukuthi mhlambe banama-lease lapho kade be-operator khona bacheke ukuthi i-cover yabo iqala kuphi iphela kuphi so u-SASRIA uyena engathi ukhaverisha ama-riots engingacabanga ukuthi i-cover ekuwukuthi inikezwa amanye ama-insurance companies out there so sithemba ukuthi sizothola ama-small business amaningi enayo leyo cover but ngiyabona ukuthi kukhona i-development yamanye ama-companies afuna ukuthi mhlambe babone ukuthi how to assist ama-SMMEs who don't have sufficient cover siyathemba ukuthi kuleli viki elizayo kuzoba nalawo ma-developments in terms of the growth of ama-big corporates that might be able to respond because ngempela we are sitting in a position where there might be a great extent yama-SMMEs angenayo i-SASRIA cover. And engithanda ukuthi mhlambe take note from now on senze sure ukuthi mesithatha ama-insurance covers wethu siyayikhavara nayo i-riots and acts of violence.
Yeah. Matlo umbono wakho uthini ke in terms of recovery of these businesses?
Well,
sure.
Okay.
Matlo, after you.
Oh, okay. Ake ngithi wena I think unkuli we coverishile kamnandi.
Yeah.
But main concern nayi angisho sikhuluma nge-chain we could find ourselves with a very challenging position where the cost of insurance to be paid out is even bigger than what the insurance companies could comprehend, because everyone will be going that route. So our actions, it's always an emphasis to say, whatever that we do to any value chain or supply chain, the impact does not only touch the person that you could be targeting, be it a small business that is close to you, be it a big business that is close to you. It has got ripple effect in terms of the impact that comes. So it would be fortunate if most businesses are really covered, and we will figure out what the private sector and the public sector could do to work together in order to get the sector up and running again. And it's all about pulling together and seeing what we can do as South Africa. I guess united we stand, and we will come out of this as we have always come. But such actions, we just need to call for them and say, we need to think through and voice out what our challenges are clearly. If there's any lack of access to the supply, let it be known, and we are here to listen to the communities and resolve such matters. Thank you.
Now, Matlo, I understand there is a looming shortage of food and food, commodities here in South Africa as a result of the riots that we've seen. And the various sectors or the affected sectors, especially in the food industry, to start importing. And will increase the prices of food and the basic food commodities in South Africa. So how are consumers cushioned against such an increase?
I think umankhuluma ngale sector, food security is our top priority, and I think during COVID it came to be seen how resilient and structured the South African food supply chain is. We are very comfortable that there shouldn't be any disruption in the supply and in terms of food security in the country. For as long as there is calm, the supply will get to the people. And the security of the logistics people is of utmost importance in order for them to get the supply. And we are comforted by the efforts that the security detail of South Africa has come through. We are working closely in terms of supporting them as they are on the ground and all over the country to ensure that they are fed, because what we can do as a sector and what we have committed is to say food security shall not be disrupted. Either we are in a disaster or we are in any crisis. So we rest assured that if the unlocking from the port of entry where our raw material is currently sitting can be fast-tracked and logistics flow as per norm, what we have, because we've got contingency measures in place in terms of sourcing our raw material. So let's be comforted that we've got a capable supply chain in South Africa to ensure food security.
All right, asibambe lapho ke, please stay on the line. Now ke Nkuli, I will engage you after the break kanye. Now ke babengobesa, please stay on the line ngoba ke sitawukhuluma nawe ke ngeku recover ke of these stolen goods. Bukela sesibambe khona lapho sithi ke shelela ngasethi market sitaphinda sibuye ke. Welcome back, everybody. Tinga ngokufisa tivuliwe ukuthi ke nawe ungavakalisa umbono wakho ungasishaya ke licingo ku 011-714-6918 noma ke 011-714-6919. You can send us an email to consumer@sabc.co.za. Ungavakalisa umbono wakho. Uphinze ubuthe nembudo ke tini interview ke tikhona namhla sine sikhulumele ke semaphoyisa babengomesa utasichazela kabanti nge recovery process ukuthi ke nangabe ke timphahla noma ke kudla lobokuntshontshiwe ke kulombhikisho bokukhona ke malanga laphelile ukuthi batawu recover kanjani. Siphinde sibe na Lakho setati from the Consumer Goods Council of South Africa ukuthi bathengi bathinzeke kanjani ke ngale nqushunqusho beyikhona. Siphinde sibe na Nkuli Bohopa yena ke ubuya ke Black Business Council ukuthi emabhizinisi ikakhulukazi but amabhizinisi lamancane wona atawuthinzeka kanjani noma ke athinzeke kanjani ke in the medium to long term. Babe Ngobese, sichazela kabantu ke babe ukuthi what are the dangers of buying stolen goods? Njengoba sibona ke amaphoyisa ikakhulu kade masotsha baphuma bangena on a door to door campaign trying to recover some of the stolen goods. Kuthi ke yini ubufakazi lenibufunako naninqonqotha endlini yemuntu nizama ke ukurecover tinfo noma kudla timpahla ledebiwe?
Into yokuqala nje esifune i-receipt ngoba zonke impahla esithenga zinama receipts. Obviously ke if usuthenga impahla isikhathi eside ngeke ube nawo ama receipts, so you need to convince us ukuthi ngempela impahla ngeyakho. We use our discretion obviously asithathi nanoma yipi impahla esitholayo. Then bese kuba nalaba ke abathenga impahla yebiwe. Uthenga impahla ekuyicala eli-serious eSouth Africa ongaboshwa uhlale ejele ngaphakathi umtholakala nempahla eyebiwe. Ungaboshwa nge-position of suspected stolen property, ungaboshwa nge-position of stolen property, ungaboshwa nge-theft of property okungeyona eyakho, and that is a serious criminal offense. So siyazibheka lezo mpahla, but asimane singene yonke imizi msakazi. I want to emphasize that point because siyeza umphakathini abantu bathi simane sithathe impahla zabo. We satisfy ourselves ukuthi impahla akuyona yakho, impahla entshontshiwe, ngoba ziningi impahla siyazazi impahla ezithathiwe from the shops, from the lokhuza emafemini and from zonke indawo la kuntshontshwe khona. So we've got targeted items esazi ukuthi wona athathiwe. As abanikazi bempahla bevula amacala, they give us a list of their stolen items. So obviously we know what to look for uma singena ekuhlaleni kwabantu sibheka impahla elokhuza abayintshontshile. So you have to convince us ukuthi impahla yakho ngabe une receipt noma sibone ukuthi ngempela impahla eyakho noma akusi impahla eyakho.
Nawuthi ke Ngobese angene kuyo yonke i-meeting, miphi le meeting kanti ngena kuyo? Nibona kanjani ukuthi ke lapha there is a possibility ukuthi there could be stolen items?
No, singena kuyo yonke imizi but asithathi yonke impahla ngoba enye impahla ibelonga kubona abantu yakho. Obviously siyayazi impahla esifunayo ngoba sinama list of stolen items esiwathola ko-complainants, because existing cases that we are already investigating. So we know what to look for when we get into those households. And we get information from customers on the ground and people from the community. They tell us, okay, this household, we have seen fridge in Genala, we've seen this item in Genala. So we get information. And they volunteer these items to us and they just leave them on the roads. They bring them to the police stations. So we get cooperation from the community. We get assistance from the members of the community. So usizo ukuthi sithole impahla silithola ngendlela eziningi. Abanye ngenxa ye-domestic violence ekhona ngaphakathi bayacebana ukuthi nange ngishaya vele uthatha i-TV endaweni ethile vele khona utshwala la ongebona bakhe. So ngaleyo ndlela ke sithatha advantage of that and we recover these items. And msakazi, I must confirm that siyaz recover ziningi impahla esizrecovered. We are even running out of our warehouses where we can store those items before our lawful owners can come and claim those properties and those items. So siyazithola ngempela impahla ziyenza and umphakathi uyasilekela. Labanye nje out of ukubona ukuthi benza into wrong bayabuyisa, and we really appreciate the gesture of bringing back the items that do not belong to them.
Okay, Ngobese sishila lapho, please stay on the line. Let's take our first caller. Sinazo lapha ke Jamestown sakumolo ehlelweni sawubona.
Sawubona kunjani?
Siyaphila khuluma nathi mama.
Khuluma noSinazo apha eJamestown. Msasazi andiphakamiseli izandla into yenziwe ngabantu baseMzantsi Afrika yokuzitaphela ukutya kuma malls. Lento lena iphakamise izinga kakhulu le unemployment. Ubuyaqaphela last year abantu baphelelwe imisebenzi endaba ye-COVID. Bayaphinda futhi badestroy lama mall esesincenge kuwo. Bayaphinda badestroy wona abantu futhi baphelelwa imisebenzi. Ndiphinde futhi ndigxele kakhulu pha kuhulumente wethu, because if uyaqaphela kakhulu abantu bebenza yonke lento lulutsha. Uhulumente abantu baluze imisebenzi and then wenzani waphinda wastopha imali le ebebapha yona ukuthi baziqhase baphile. Abantu base-South Africa bayahlupheka kakhulu. Iyo into endiyibonayo eyenzakalayo right now.
Yeah, so nazo siyabonga kakhulu ke kusishayela, and thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us. And ikakhulu kade ngibonile nje ku social media, ngibone isithombe lapha sasofa, a luxury couch worth 67,000. Umuntu ke wasithatha lapho asithethe khona ke lo sofa loyo, wahamba wawubeka endlini yakhe. Nakafika le ndlini uthola ukuthi ke awusangeni sofa, so uhleti ngaphandle ke, so uhleti uthwele umkhono enhloko. Hey, kungathi vele inhlandi ishelwe ngemandi. So this is one of the many actions that are condemned. We condemn them in the strictest of terms. Now, siphinde sibuye kuwe ke Ngobese, ukuthi ukhulumeke ngama receipt la. Mina nawe siyathi lokuthi akusithi sonke lesigcina ema receipt. Nangabe ngithenga lutho, ngithenga sofa noma ke ngithenga iTV, ngibeka endlini, ngiyaconnecta, nangibona ukuthi konke kuhamba kahle, sengiyayilahla le receipt leyo. Awucabanga ukuthi kutawususa inkinga letinengi kubantu laba uthola ukuthi le TV vele wayithenga ngalokusemthethweni yakhe yathengwa nguye. Kepha ke I receipt akasayiboni noma ke wayilahla.
No, kuyiqiniso lokho msakazi. One, lezi impahla ngendlela ebezithathwa ngayo obviously ziyabonakala ngoba zintsha kodwa zilimele. I-TV uthola ukuthi ine-crack, uthola ukuthi i-fridge ilimele, uthola ukuthi umshini wokuwasha ulimele. So evident you can tell this item is fairly new but it's broken. Ngiyibona leyo nto. So akuhambisani. Then we begin to be suspicious. No, there could be something here. Obviously siyaba-interviewer. Satisfy us if it is yours. Now I'm now receipts for zonke izinto. But some of these items are serial numbers. Serial numbers, it's easy to make a store esithile. Then you can always go back and verify with that shop because our systems are linked. So it's easy to when we change it, give us your ID number. Then we go to the shop. Then the shop must also agree with you or disagree with you. But impathy yatholakala, and we rely kakhulu information esitholayo on the ground. In neighborhood, yasitshela ukuthi kunama items athile. As we approach in each and every household, we are aware what to expect that particular household because we receive information. And I must say, eningi impahla ibuya ngoba umphakathi uyabona ukuthi awenzanga kahle usuyayibuyisa, bayayibeka emgaqweni, bayafona ababiza amaphoyisa. So abanye bayavolunteer. So we are not fighting with the community to get these items back because abanye it was just excitement ukuthi wonke umuntu is looting. Now when they get back into get back to their senses, they realize that what I may have done is wrong, is against my culture, is against my values and my norms. I must take this back. Abanye abazali bayababuza abantu abasha njengoba desho before ingane encane eningi ukuthi uyithathaphi le item ayibelonge la ekhaya, then ke as a result siyakwazi ukuthola ngakho.
Alright, Baba Ngobese sishiye khona lapho sitawuchuba futhi nenkulumo yethu emva kwaleli khefu. Let's take another short break. We'll be back shortly. Asiphinde sinamongele ke bekunene ehlelweni lakho ilungelo lakho. Namhla ke sikhuluma ke ngalombhikisho nalenqushunqusho lesibonile ke ikakhulukade eGauteng naseNatali, ama riots and the looting that has been going on. So many people have lost their jobs as a result. Sivile ke uhulumende waseNatali uthi ke the cost of the looting amounted to 15 billion rand, which is the amount of stock that has been lost and the value of the destruction of property. Stauva ke na uhulumende waseGauteng uthi yena ke ingabe well, according to counting the cost, malini ke labamluzile. Sina Ngobese ulapha ke sikhulumele from the South African Police Services, usikhulumele samaphoyisa. Sina Matlo Sitati from the Consumer Goods Council of South Africa. Sina Nguli Pohopa yena ke ubuya Black Business Council. Now Nguli, asasikhulume kabanti ke ngema challenges noma ke tinkinga that black business people in particular face on a general basis.
Kuningi ukuthi kusaseyinkinga for ama-business amancane and specifically black-owned businesses. Siyazi ukuthi okukhulu yi-access to finance ethanda ukuba nzima with the banking sector, ekuwukuthi bazofuna i-collateral ngesikhathi esiningi uthole ukuthi abantu bethu abanayo i-property ownership ukuze bakwazi ukuthi babe ne-collateral. So-ke ngiyathanda ukuthi ngi-encourage wonke ama-SMMEs ukuthi babohlala be-check-a i-landscape yama-funding avenues akhona that are not necessarily at the banks, ukufana no-NYDA, ukufana no-SIFA and organizations afana nalawo. And then ngithanda ukuthi futhi to those SMMEs ekuwukuthi mhlambe istoro sakhe si-vandaliziwe ebephakathi kwe-shopping center, khuluma with your landlord and also just make sure ukuthi ama-insurance claims ayangena wonke ngesikhathi, because kokunye it's just the lapsing of time that insurance is then in a position to say they are not going to accept your claim. So make sure ukuthi ujike izinto zakho ngesikhathi uhambe uyokwenza iclaim yakho, but access to opportunities in general are a big problem, and see Black Business Council ngaso sonke isikhathi si engage no government ukuthi they need to live up to their policies and their promises to our people. And esazi ukuthi policy enkulu iyona le broad-based black economic empowerment ekuwukuthi by now if ibe followishwa kahle according to the plans and the different sector charters that exist, akumelanga ukuthi sisakhuluma ngale nkinga esikhuluma ngazo namhlanje, uyayibona ke. So ama-policies akhona in our country engithemba ukuthi in our rebuild and in our recovery ye-economy, uhulumeni must see ukuthi this is the time to ensure that we are implementing ama-policies wethu. Ukuplana siyaplana la eSouth Africa, ama-policies we are not short of them. Into esishoda ngayo i-implementation. Ngithanda ukuthi ne-private business, i-corporate business nayo it needs to also make sure ukuthi they support black businesses and give them an opportunity to participate opportunities lapho futhi. So i-BEE iyona esibambe kuyona for the sake of ukuthi ama-companies mewengafuni ukwenza into right, sometimes you need to force them, and currently that is the mechanism ekuwukuthi ikhona ukuthi incedise abantu abakumabhizinisi amancane.
Ngule, awucabanga ukuthi lo monakalo lo bekhona noma ke lebe siubona kula malanga landlulile angeke ende bandvu noma ke emalunga emphakathi asabe kuvula amabhizinisi?
Indeed, izoba khona leyo fear, especially moving forward, not only for ama-business amancane, but I think even for big businesses. Siyazi ukuthi ama-business amakhulu bona banama-options ukuthi bangaya offshore, babona ukuthi hayi ngiyamuva. And I think even at a personal level, siyazi ukuthi sike saba ne-problem yokuthi siluza iskill esiningi. Abantu aba-young who are active in our economy, who are feeling discouraged with the state of the economy se-country yethu, bayahamba baya kwezinye indawo. Kodwa ngiyathanda ukuthi ngithi this is our country, this is our home. We need to all have all hands on deck ukuthi siyazi ukuthi siyakhe futhi. I don't think ukuthi ukuphelelwa ithemba ngendlela yokuthi singasakwazi ukubona ukuthi there is a brighter future that is possible in our country. Kuyoba into eright. I feel terribly sorry for ukuthi ama-company amaningi amancane, usually umuntu uthatha all of their life savings ayithatha ayifake kuleli business, put all your sweat and energy into it, and it becomes literally like your baby. So mekulahleka ibhizinisi elincane kanjalo, it's actually someone's complete livelihood. But ngiyathemba ukuthi ama-social partners njengoba sicalile ukusebenzisana wonke, ngingasho nje ngithi kuleli viki elidlule already ama-social partners ekuwukuthi government, it's big business, labor.
Okay, Nguli, please hold your thought. We are out of time. We need to take this break now, but please hold your thoughts. We'll certainly continue this conversation after the break. Now ke matlo ngidawuphinza ngibuye kuwe kanye nawe babe ngoba sesitawubuya kuwe emva kwaleli khefu. Sasithathe leli khefu lethu lekugcina sitawuphinza sibuye emva kungasikudala. Senimukela bakunene ke siqephini sethu sekugcina ke kuleli hlelo ke. Let's take our final caller sinamzimase ulapha ke eMount Fletcher eEastern Cape. Sakumule ehlelweni babe sawubona.
Msasazi manje bemfitshane nje ndenza ngolhlobo.
Siyabonga baba.
Yithi siyayibonile yonke into eyenzekileyo eSouth Africa mosi ithetha ukuthi lonto leyo abantu abenza lento msasazi mina ndicinga into yobana bafanele bazenzele bona ngendlela bebeyithanda ngayo but uba ngabe urhulumente unaso isandla nokusifaka ndicebisa urhulumente makaqala ajonge kwezi ndawo zingakhange zibe nayo lento zingayifunanga lento yokuluthisa kwezi ndawo bekuluthiswa kwezi ndawo zethu thina umzekelo lapha eMpuma Koloni nakoKapa uqale kulungiswe ezi ndawo kwakhiwe ii-malls. I know into yokuba zenziwa zii-private companies but all those investors mhlawumbi who may take inantsika into okokubana bazo-investa apha kula maphondo ethu ngoba ke thina siyayi-appreciata noba yinto encinci siyayazi into yokuba ibalulekile kuthi bona
thank you so much. We are out of time unfortunately, and before we wrap the show I'm going to ask our guests to just share with us their final thoughts. Lakho, how long are consumers likely to feel the pinch of this looting? Just briefly.
Thanks. I think we can't determine that because if, as Nkuli has said, if a mall has been banned, that might take some time. If a store has been banned in a community, that might also take some time. And also with the funds that have to be geared to the rebuilding of that. But we are comforted that in most cases, the sector comes through with makeshift structures. We might see those cropping up in various areas. And I think we must just work with the communities.
Okay, let's leave it there. Unfortunately, we're out of time. Nkuli, your final thoughts?
Bekisho khona ukuthi sithemba ukuthi ama-social partners having come together ngendlela eba-responde ngayo kwi-COVID kuzoba khona i-support ezoba khona for smaller businesses, and I'd like to just encourage abantu who are in entrepreneurship and in small business not to give up hope because isandla sabo siyafuneka naso in the broader economy of South Africa.
Okay, Nkuli, thank you so much for that. Babengobese, just briefly in 10 seconds, your final thoughts?
Yabona ngokwenzekile kodwa engikhala ngako isihluku udlame why masuthathile bese ufanele bothwala ushise ucekele lapho CPF youth desk abazali imphakathi sisebenzeni kulwana ndawo yonke lento ezakala ukuze kube nokuthula ezithu.
Baba Mthokozisi Ngobese, Nkuli Bogopa kanye nawe Matlo Setati, great chatting to you. Siyabonga kakhulu ukuhlanganyela nathi.
Siyabonga.
Thank you very much.
Ayike bukele sifika kanjalo kumaphethelweni nehlelo lethu namhla ke ngithanda ukubonga ivakashi lethu ngekuba nathi ke namhla ngithanda ukubonga nane babukele nekuba nathi kuze bengimanje. Please join us again next Tuesday for yet another live consumer affairs discussion from Isimphiwe Ngwane and the rest of the team. Have a great week. Insale kahle.